A rich man mocked the janitor at the office every single day, laughing at his old clothes and calling him useless. But one day, the janitor did something that left the entire company speechless. Before we dive into the story, tell us where you are watching from. If you like this story, hit that subscribe button because tomorrow we have a special story for you. Mark worked at his father's big company. His father was a successful businessman and had always wanted Mark to learn the ropes. Mark was young, smart, and confident, but he was also arrogant. He thought of himself as better than others because he was rich. He often looked down on people who worked in lower positions. He believed money was the most important thing in life. There was one person Mark particularly disliked, Mr. Harris. Mr. Harris was the janitor at the company. He had worked there for many years, keeping the building clean and tidy. Mr. Harris was an older man with gray hair and a kind face. He was quiet and hardworking. He always did his job without complaint. Mark did not respect Mr. Harris. He would often pass by him without a word. Sometimes he mocked him, making jokes about his job. Mark thought cleaning was not an important job and anyone could do it. He never understood the effort it took to keep the place clean and running smoothly. To Mark, Mr. Harris was just a janitor, someone who didn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Mark's father, Mr. Stevens, was different. He always reminded Mark to respect everyone, no matter their job. "You never know people's true worth," he would say. Mr. Stevens had worked hard to build his business from the ground up. He knew how important every role was in making the company successful. He valued all his employees, from the top executives to the janitors like Mr. Harris. One day, Mr. Stevens called Mark into his office. He wanted to talk to him about his behavior. "Mark, I've heard how you treat Mr. Harris and some of the other staff." "It's not right," he said. Mark shrugged. He didn't see the problem. To him, it was just harmless fun. "Dad, it's just a joke. Why does it matter?" Mark replied, dismissing his father's concern. Mr. Stevens sighed. He looked at his son and tried to make him understand. "Mark, respect is important. Everyone deserves it, no matter what job they do. Mr. Harris works hard here, just like everyone else. He deserves your respect," he explained. But Mark didn't listen. He didn't think he needed to respect someone who cleaned floors for a living. As Mark left his father's office, he saw Mr. Harris in the hallway. He was pushing his cleaning cart, getting ready to mop the floors. Mark smirked and walked past him without a word. He didn't notice the tired look in Mr. Harris's eyes or the way he quietly went about his work day after day. Mark's friends were much like him. They also came from wealthy families and shared his views. They often laughed with Mark when he joked about the janitor. They never thought about how their words might affect someone like Mr. Harris. To them, it was all just harmless fun. But Mr. Harris noticed. He heard the things Mark said, even if Mark didn't think he did. He saw how Mark treated him and the other staff. But Mr. Harris never said anything. He just continued his work, keeping his head down and doing his best. He knew his job was important, even if Mark didn't. Despite Mark's attitude, Mr. Harris never showed any anger or resentment. He greeted Mark with a nod every day. He went about his work with quiet dignity. Mr. Harris had seen many young men like Mark come and go over the years. He knew that life had a way of teaching lessons, often when least expected. Mark's father hoped that one day Mark would learn to see people for who they were, not just what they did. He wanted Mark to understand that money wasn't everything. Respect, kindness, and character mattered more. But for now, Mark remained the same, confident in his belief that he was above others because of his wealth. The company continued its daily routine. Employees came and went, clients visited, and business went on as usual. Mark moved through his days, focusing on his tasks and projects, barely acknowledging the people around him. He was busy planning his future, aiming for success and wealth. He never thought about how his actions affected those around him. But things were about to change. Mark would soon find himself in a situation where money and status wouldn't help him. He would need someone he had always ignored. Someone who had always been there, quietly doing their job. Life was preparing to teach Mark a lesson he would never forget. A lesson about respect, humility, and the true worth of a person. Every morning, Mark arrived at the office in his expensive car. He wore designer suits and carried a briefcase that cost more than some people made in a month. He walked into the building with confidence. The security guards greeted him and he barely nodded back. His mind was always on the day's meetings and projects. In the office, Mark was known for his sharp mind and quick decisions. He worked on important projects and was often praised for his ideas. He believed he was destined for great things, just like his father. But his arrogance was well known. He spoke to people only when necessary. He saw himself as above most of them. When it was lunchtime, Mark went to the fancy restaurant nearby. He and his friends enjoyed gourmet meals, laughing and talking about their plans. They discussed their next big vacation or the latest luxury items they had bought. It was a routine they enjoyed, a chance to relax and show off their wealth. Mr. Harris, on the other hand, had a simple lunch in the small break room. He brought homemade sandwiches and a thermos of coffee. He ate quietly, sometimes chatting with other staff. They all respected him for his hard work and friendly nature. Unlike Mark, Mr. Harris treated everyone with kindness and respect. Mark's father noticed these differences. He often watched his son from his office window, observing how he interacted with others. One afternoon, he called Mark in for another talk. He wanted to try again to make Mark see the importance of respect and humility. "Mark, I've been thinking about how you treat the people here," Mr. Stevens began. Mark sighed, already tired of this conversation. "Dad, I work hard. I'm doing well. Isn't that what matters?" he replied. Mr. Stevens shook his head. "Success is important, but so is how you treat others. You need to learn this, Mark." Mark nodded, but his mind was elsewhere. He didn't see why he needed to change. Things were going well for him, and he didn't see a problem. He thought his father worried too much about things that didn't matter. After their talk, Mark returned to his desk. He had a project to finish, and he wanted to do it quickly. He worked through the afternoon, focused and determined. He was sure his hard work would pay off, and he would soon be in charge, just like his father. As the day ended, Mark packed his things, ready to go home. He glanced at Mr. Harris, who was still busy cleaning. The janitor moved from desk to desk, picking up trash and tidying up. Mark didn't give him a second thought. But Mr. Harris noticed everything. He saw the way Mark ignored him and the other staff. He heard the jokes and comments. But he never let it bother him. He just did his job, knowing that everyone had their own path to follow. Mark's father often worried about his son. He wanted Mark to succeed, but he also wanted him to be a good person. He believed that true success wasn't just about money and power. It was about character and how you treated others. He hoped Mark would learn this before it was too late. One evening, Mr. Stevens invited Mark to dinner at home. He hoped to have another chance to talk to him. Over a simple meal, he shared stories from his own life. He talked about the challenges he faced when starting his business and the people who helped him along the way. Mark listened, but he still didn't understand. He respected his father's success and wanted to follow in his footsteps. But he didn't see how respecting a janitor or a receptionist could help him achieve his goals. To him, business was about strategy and profit, not about relationships. After dinner, Mark returned to his apartment. He had a nice place filled with expensive furniture and gadgets. He was proud of his achievements and the lifestyle he had built. He believed he was on the right track even if his father couldn't see it. But life had a way of teaching lessons. Mark was about to face a situation where his money and status wouldn't matter. He would soon find himself needing help from someone he never thought twice about. It would be a turning point, a chance for him to learn the true value of respect and kindness. As Mark settled into bed that night, he had no idea that the next day would change everything. He was confident and sure of himself, unaware that his world was about to be turned upside down. One evening, Mark decided to stay late at the office. He had an important project to finish, and he wanted it done before the deadline. Most of the employees had already left for the day. The office was quiet, and Mark liked the peace. He thought he could focus better without the usual noise of the day. As he worked, the building seemed almost empty. The only other person there was Mr. Harris. He was busy cleaning the corridors as he did every evening. Mark didn't pay him any attention. He was focused on his work, typing away at his computer. Mark wasn't aware of what was happening outside. But Mr. Harris noticed something strange. While emptying the trash bins, he saw a group of men lurking near the side entrance. They were hanging around, looking suspicious. Mr. Harris had a keen eye. Years of working in the building had taught him to notice when things were out of place. Feeling uneasy, Mr. Harris decided to keep an eye on them. He didn't want to jump to conclusions, but something didn't feel right. He continued his work, but he stayed alert. He had learned to trust his instincts over the years. They had served him well in the past. Mr. Harris had a family at home. He was a dedicated husband and father. His wife worked part-time and they had 2 children. Mr. Harris worked hard to provide for them. He took pride in his job, knowing it helped keep his family secure. Despite the long hours, he always made time for his family. They were the reason he worked as hard as he did. As the hours passed, the strange men outside didn't leave. Mr. Harris watched them from time to time, peeking through the windows as he worked. He grew more concerned as the evening went on. He knew he couldn't just ignore it. Meanwhile, Mark continued with his project. He was deep into his work, unaware of Mr. Harris's observations. He didn't know that the janitor was watching out for the building, ensuring everything was safe. To Mark, Mr. Harris was just doing his usual cleaning. But Mr. Harris was more than just a janitor. Over the years, he had learned many things about the building. He knew where every hidden corner and secret passage was. He had dealt with all sorts of issues, from minor repairs to unexpected problems. He was resourceful and clever, skills that would soon prove invaluable. As the night grew darker, Mark finally finished his work. He leaned back in his chair, satisfied with what he had accomplished. He began to pack up, ready to head home. He didn't realize that danger was lurking just outside. Mr. Harris, however, was prepared. He decided to take action. He knew he had to do something about the men outside. He had a feeling they were up to no good. He couldn't just leave and hope for the best. He remembered a trick he had learned from dealing with unexpected situations. Mr. Harris had once installed a hidden camera in the hallway. It was a simple device, but it could capture footage of anything unusual. He had placed it there as a precaution, never thinking he would actually need it. He activated the camera, making sure it was recording everything. Then he quietly moved to the hidden control panel. It was a part of the building's old security system, something only he knew about. Mr. Harris was careful not to alert the men outside. He didn't want them to know he was onto them. Mark was still in his office, gathering his things. He heard Mr. Harris moving around but didn't think much of it. He had no idea what Mr. Harris was doing or the potential danger they were both in. With the camera recording, Mr. Harris felt a little more at ease. But he remained cautious. He knew things could change quickly and he had to be ready. He continued with his duties, keeping a watchful eye on the situation. As Mark left his office, he noticed the time. It was late and he wanted to get home. He headed towards the exit, passing by Mr. Harris in the hallway. He gave him a brief nod, but nothing more. He was already thinking about his plans for the next day. But Mr. Harris was aware of every detail. He knew that something big was about to happen. He didn't know exactly what the men outside were planning, but he was ready to act if needed. He had made up his mind to protect the building and everyone inside it. The stage was set for a night that would change everything. Mark was about to face a situation he had never imagined. And Mr. Harris was prepared to step up, ready to show just how important his role really was. As Mark walked towards the exit, he heard a noise behind him. He turned around, but the hallway seemed empty. He shrugged it off and continued on. His mind was on getting home and he was tired from the long day. Suddenly, the lights flickered. Mark paused, looking around. He had never seen this happen before. It was strange and it made him uneasy. Soon after, the security alarm shut off. The silence that followed was heavy, almost unsettling. Before Mark could react, he heard footsteps. They were coming fast, echoing through the empty hallway. He froze, unsure of what was happening. Then, out of nowhere, a group of masked men appeared. They moved quickly, surrounding him. Mark's heart raced. Fear gripped him as one of the men grabbed his arm. "Come with us, kid. You're worth a fortune," the man said. Mark struggled, trying to break free, but they were strong. He realized with growing horror that this was a kidnapping attempt. Panic set in as Mark realized how helpless he was. He looked around, hoping for a way out, but there was none. The men had planned this well. They had cut the security system, ensuring no alarms would go off. No one would know what was happening until it was too late. In that moment, Mark thought of his father's warnings. He wished he had listened more carefully. He wished he had been more aware of his surroundings. But it was too late for regrets. He needed help and he needed it fast. Mark remembered that Mr. Harris was still in the building. He was the only other person around. But Mark had never thought highly of him. He doubted Mr. Harris could do anything against these men. Yet, deep down, he hoped the janitor would notice something was wrong. Unbeknownst to Mark, Mr. Harris had already seen the men enter the building. He had been watching from a distance, aware of their every move. His instincts had been right, and now he knew he had to act quickly. Instead of running for help, Mr. Harris did something unexpected. He moved quietly to the hidden control panel. It was a part of the old security system, something only he knew how to use. He pressed a series of buttons, activating the emergency lockdown system. The building's doors sealed shut, trapping the kidnappers inside. Confused, the men looked around, realizing they were caught. They tried to break the doors, but they were reinforced with security glass. They were stuck, like mice in a trap. Mark watched in disbelief as the men panicked. He couldn't believe what was happening. But he knew he was still in danger. He needed to stay calm and hope for a way out. While the kidnappers struggled, Mr. Harris quickly called the police. He used his hidden camera to send them live footage of the situation. With his phone in hand, he described what was happening, giving the police all the details they needed. Within minutes, sirens blared outside. The police had arrived, surrounding the building. The kidnappers realized they had no escape. They tried to use Mark as leverage, threatening him to get a way out. But the police were ready. They had a plan, and they executed it with precision. A SWAT team stormed the building, moving swiftly and silently. They took the kidnappers by surprise, disarming them and securing the area. Mark was shaken but unharmed. He watched as the police led the men away in handcuffs. Relief washed over him, but the fear still lingered. He had been so close to real danger, and it was a feeling he would not soon forget. As the situation calmed down, Mark looked for Mr. Harris. He found him standing by the control panel, calm and composed. Mark was amazed. The man he had mocked for so long had just saved him, using his quick thinking and resourcefulness. Mark's father arrived shortly after. He rushed to his son, relief evident on his face. He hugged Mark tightly, grateful that he was safe. Then he turned to Mr. Harris, understanding the role he had played in saving Mark. This night had changed everything for Mark. He realized how wrong he had been about Mr. Harris and others like him. It was a humbling experience, one that opened his eyes to the true value of respect and integrity. Mark stood in the hallway, still processing everything that had happened. The police were wrapping up and the building was slowly returning to normal. He watched as Mr. Harris spoke with one of the officers, explaining the situation and how he had managed to trap the kidnappers. Mr. Harris's actions were nothing short of heroic. He had noticed the danger before anyone else. His quick thinking and knowledge of the building had saved Mark from a terrifying fate. Mark felt a surge of gratitude mixed with embarrassment for how he had treated Mr. Harris in the past. Once the police finished their work, they thanked Mr. Harris for his help. They were impressed by his calm demeanor and clever use of the building's old security features. Mark listened as they praised the janitor, realizing how much he had underestimated him. Mr. Harris was humble, accepting their thanks with a simple nod. He didn't boast about his actions or seek attention. For him, it was just another part of his job, something he did without expecting anything in return. His quiet confidence was something Mark had never noticed before. Mark's father approached Mr. Harris, gratitude evident in his eyes. He shook Mr. Harris's hand firmly, thanking him for saving his son. "You did an incredible job," he said, his voice filled with sincerity. Mr. Harris nodded, acknowledging the thanks but not making a big deal out of it. Mark watched this exchange, feeling a mix of emotions. He felt ashamed for all the times he had ignored or mocked Mr. Harris. He realized how wrong he had been to judge someone based on their job. He saw now that Mr. Harris was a man of great character and strength. After the police left, the building was quiet again. Mark's father spoke to him, reminding him of the importance of respect and understanding. "You see, Mark, true value isn't in money, it's in character," he said. Mark nodded, understanding his father's words in a way he never had before. He approached Mr. Harris, feeling nervous but determined. He needed to apologize and thank him properly. "Mr. Harris," Mark began, his voice sincere, "I was wrong about you. Thank you for saving me." Mr. Harris simply smiled, his eyes kind. "No problem, kid. Just remember, never judge people by their job," he replied. Mark felt a weight lift off his shoulders. It was as if a new chapter had begun in his life. He had learned a valuable lesson, one that would stay with him forever. He saw now that respect was earned through actions and character, not wealth or status. The next day, Mark went to work with a different attitude. He made it a point to greet Mr. Harris warmly, asking about his day. He was genuinely interested in the janitor's life, wanting to know more about the man who had saved him. Mr. Harris was surprised by the change but welcomed it. Mark also talked to his father about rewarding Mr. Harris for his bravery. He arranged for a significant pay raise, ensuring Mr. Harris's hard work was properly recognized. It was a small gesture, but it was important to Mark. He wanted to show his gratitude in a tangible way. As the days passed, Mark found himself valuing the people around him more. He took the time to learn about his co-workers, understanding their roles and appreciating their contributions. He realized that everyone played a part in the company's success, no matter their position. Mark and Mr. Harris developed a friendship. They often chatted during breaks, sharing stories about their lives. Mark learned about Mr. Harris's family, his interests, and the challenges he had faced. He admired Mr. Harris's resilience and wisdom, qualities he had been blind to before. This experience changed Mark. He was no longer the arrogant young man who looked down on others. He had learned to see people for who they truly were, beyond their job titles. It was a lesson that enriched his life and made him a better person. Mark's father noticed the change in his son. He was proud of Mark's growth and the lessons he had learned. He knew that this experience had been important, shaping Mark's character and future. Mark's story became one of transformation. He had learned that true worth was not in wealth, but in wisdom, kindness, and integrity. It was a lesson he would never forget, a guiding principle that would lead him through life. The days after the incident were different for Mark. He walked into the office each morning with a new perspective. He noticed things he had overlooked before. The security guards at the entrance, the receptionist greeting everyone, and the cleaning staff working quietly in the background, all of them played a role in the company's daily life. Mark greeted everyone he met with a smile and a friendly word. He took time to listen to people, truly interested in their stories and experiences. It was a change that surprised many of his coworkers. They had known him as distant and unapproachable. Now he was someone who cared and respected everyone around him. His relationship with Mr. Harris had also grown. They often shared lunch in the break room, talking about their lives. Mark learned about Mr. Harris's family and his dedication to his work. He admired the sacrifices Mr. Harris made for his loved ones, working long hours to provide for them. Mr. Harris, in turn, enjoyed these conversations. He saw the change in Mark and appreciated his sincerity. They discussed many things, from work challenges to personal interests. Mr. Harris shared his own life lessons, offering advice and wisdom from his years of experience. Mark's father watched these changes with pride. He saw a new side of his son, one that valued character over wealth. He knew Mark had learned an important lesson, one that would guide him in both his personal and professional life. One afternoon, Mark and his father had a conversation in the office. Mr. Stevens wanted to discuss Mark's future in the company. He was pleased with Mark's progress and wanted him to take on more responsibilities. Mark was eager to learn and grow, ready to step up and prove himself. But this time, Mark approached his work with a different mindset. He understood that success wasn't just about personal achievement. It was about working together, valuing each team member's contribution, and leading with integrity. Mark started organizing team meetings, encouraging open communication and collaboration. He valued everyone's input, making sure each voice was heard. This approach fostered a positive work environment, boosting morale and productivity. His coworkers noticed the difference. They felt appreciated and respected, motivated to do their best. Mark's leadership style inspired others, creating a culture of trust and cooperation. It was a welcome change that benefited the entire company. Outside of work, Mark also made changes. He became involved in community activities, volunteering at local events and charities. He wanted to give back, using his skills and resources to help others. It was a way to apply the lessons he had learned, making a positive impact beyond the office. Mark's transformation didn't go unnoticed. His friends and family saw how much he had grown. He was no longer the arrogant young man focused solely on wealth and status. He was someone who valued kindness, respect, and integrity. One day, Mark received a call from a local newspaper. They wanted to interview him about his experience and the changes he had made. Mark was hesitant at first, not one to seek the spotlight. But he realized it was an opportunity to share his story and inspire others. During the interview, Mark spoke about the night of the attempted kidnapping and how it had changed him. He talked about Mr. Harris and the lessons he had learned from him. He emphasized the importance of respect, humility, and seeing people for who they truly are. The article was published and it resonated with many readers. Mark received messages of support and gratitude from people who had been touched by his story. It was a reminder of the impact a single experience could have, changing someone's perspective and actions. As time went on, Mark continued to grow and learn. He remained committed to his values, using them as a foundation for his decisions and actions. His journey was one of personal growth, shaped by the lessons he had learned from Mr. Harris and his father. Mark knew the importance of character and integrity. He had seen firsthand how they could change lives and create a better world. It was a lesson he carried with him, guiding him as he moved forward in his career and personal life. As the weeks turned into months, Mark continued to embrace his new perspective. He was dedicated to fostering a respectful and inclusive environment at the office. He made it a point to check in with his team regularly, ensuring everyone felt valued and heard. One morning, Mark decided to organize a small gathering for all the employees. He wanted to celebrate their hard work and dedication. It was a chance to bring everyone together and strengthen their sense of community. He planned a simple lunch in the break room, inviting everyone to join. As the employees gathered, there was a sense of camaraderie in the air. People chatted and laughed, enjoying the opportunity to relax and connect. Mark watched, pleased to see the positive atmosphere. It was a testament to the changes he had worked hard to implement. Mr. Harris was there too, part of the group and enjoying the event. He and Mark shared a moment, reflecting on how much things had changed since that fateful night. They both knew how far Mark had come and how important this new direction was. During the gathering, Mark took a moment to speak to everyone. He expressed his gratitude for their hard work and commitment. He acknowledged the vital role each person played in the company's success. His words were genuine, and the employees appreciated his sincerity. He also took the opportunity to publicly thank Mr. Harris once again. Mark wanted everyone to know how much Mr. Harris had done for him and the company. He shared how Mr. Harris's quick thinking had saved him and taught him valuable lessons about respect and humility. The employees applauded, showing their appreciation for Mr. Harris. He was a well-liked figure in the office, and his actions had only reinforced their respect for him. Mr. Harris, humble as ever, accepted the recognition with a smile. After the gathering, Mark continued to focus on building strong relationships with his team. He encouraged open communication, listening to their ideas and concerns. He wanted everyone to feel they were part of something bigger, working towards common goals. Mark's efforts paid off. The company thrived with higher morale and productivity than ever before. Employees felt motivated and engaged, eager to contribute to the company's success. It was a reflection of the positive work culture Mark had helped create. Outside of work, Mark maintained his commitment to helping others. He continued volunteering in the community, supporting local initiatives and charities. He found fulfillment in giving back, knowing he was making a difference in people's lives. Mark and Mr. Harris's friendship grew stronger. They met regularly, sharing stories and insights. Mark valued Mr. Harris's wisdom and perspective, learning from his experiences. It was a friendship built on mutual respect and understanding. One day, Mark received a letter from a young man who had read the newspaper article about him. The young man shared how Mark's story had inspired him to change his own attitude towards others. He thanked Mark for showing him the importance of respect and integrity. The letter touched Mark deeply. It reminded him of the impact his actions could have. He realized that his journey was not just about personal growth, but also about inspiring others to be better. As Mark reflected on his journey, he understood that it was far from over. He was committed to continuing his path, guided by the values he had embraced. He knew there would be challenges ahead, but he was ready to face them with integrity and kindness. Mark's father watched his son's growth with pride. He saw the man Mark had become, someone who valued character over wealth. He knew Mark would carry these lessons with him throughout his life, shaping the person he would continue to grow into. In the end, Mark's story was one of transformation and redemption. He had learned that true worth was not in money or status, but in the character and kindness of a person. It was a lesson that had changed his life and inspired those around him. Mark was grateful for the experiences that had brought him to this point. He knew that each day was an opportunity to learn and grow, to be better than the day before. With this mindset, he looked forward to the future, ready to make a positive impact in whatever he did.